interview series aimed to bring the work of choreographers and performers closer to the audience and helping you better understand their pieces, their creative processes, and the context how piece was done. It is my pleasure to talk to Solène Weinachter, choreographer and performer based between Scotland and France. And we will talk about her piece After All. So maybe so welcome.
Hello. Hi.
And yeah, my first question would be like, I know that the dance world is international, but how happened that you ended up based between Scotland and France?
I'm French, as you can hear in my accent. I'm born in France, and I came to train at London Contemporary Dance School in 2004. And then, I ended up staying in the UK. I got my first job in Scottish Dance Theatre, which is based in Dundee, up in Scotland, in a small town, a smaller city. And from one thing to the other, I ended up making my roots up there in Scotland, which is an incredible country if you haven't been.
Yeah, I've been to in Edinburgh. Yes. Yeah. So and and also one Airways meeting took place there. So yeah. So your artistic practice is rooted in the intersection between dance, theater, storytelling, and maybe how would you describe your creative approach? Do you have something you rely on? There's methods you use to work, or it really does depend on the theme each time, and you work each time differently, and you use different method how to create?
The ends justify the means, right? So indeed the means changes according to where I want to go. However, there is like a base that I feel almost like a compass for me, and I do that no matter what every day, which is a physical practice and a vocal practice to bring everything together. So then I can go in, when I go into researching, I just go with all of me into the research. So I physically that will change maybe, but I would work a lot with Feldenkrais, which is this somatic practice that makes you really available. And as I'm getting older, I'm really happy this is in my pocket to sustain an available body. And also it sustains a way of paying attention, which really helps me in what I do, because what I do really juggles lots of different things at the same time. My relationship to myself, my relationship to the audience, my relationship to what I'm saying, text, movement. So it really helps me for that. And then I do this vocal practice from Roy Hart Theatre, which is much more about experimentation of the voice, the spoken voice especially. So that would always be with me. I would do that no matter what. And then I have worked a lot with improvisation, theatre improvisation. So I'll try to set myself up with a problem or a question, and then I search with it until something emerges. If it makes me laugh, it stays. If because I've been working on solo stuff, so I have to be both my audience and the performer. And yeah, I would say for After All, especially, it was a matter of researching and bringing an audience, checking in how it's landing, going back, researching more, bringing the audience. So it really has been developed in the relationship to the people watching it. I would say this is a relationship or an aspect of the work that is at the center of the work, I do really care about who is sitting out there and watching it.
Great. Yeah. That's what makes theater alive, and I mean also the performance. Yeah. By the way, I'm Feldenkrais practitioner since 2006. Yes.
That's what I'm saying then.
Okay. Let's go to After All, and because the topic of that is very interesting. And life and death are really closely connected, and dance is also seen as a celebration of life. But maybe it seems to be, for the first, it might seem unusual to talk about that by dance. But since also dance is marked by ritual, so in every culture, so was that what drew you to this topic, to this theme, or how it arrived?
Yeah, no, you're really on it. You've got your finger on the pulse here. Like, I was really curious about how to celebrate our existence, and I was thinking with a friend. At first I wanted to make this show on my friend, and I was like, how could we unapologetically really celebrate ourselves in this culture that represses this quite a bit? And then I realized, how about using the lens of the end, because at the end there is no more really apology, in it's too late, to hold back. But then so yeah, the desire comes from there, and I think dance has a huge role to play, because it's fully embodied, like a whole way of engaging with the subject. And then happened COVID, which after I had this desire to make this show, and I realized the language around death was so appalling. It was really based on fear and statistic, and it was very apparent that there's a gap in this culture addressing grief, addressing loss, addressing death. And I feel also, us as embodied practitioners and dancers, we do have a language to also engage with it that is not only intellectual, and I felt bringing those two things together could really potentially hold something for people, with the show and also outside of the show. So that's what brought me to wanting to work on that. Yeah.
And it's really, for me, it was really based on text, so it's really like stories. So my question is, like, who wrote the text, or how the text came about, and also how many is actually kind of autobiographical in that stories you are talking about?
The text came about through different sources. I really love people's stories, so I held a lot of conversation at the beginning of the process with young people, with older people, with people of all faiths, and all backgrounds as much as possible, and ask them a few questions. What do you think a funeral is for? Who is it for? What do you think happens when you die? And it was really beautiful to kind of be in those conversations. So some of the text comes from this conversation, because there is something that overlap every time. But I did squeeze that through the lenses of my experience to kind of make it respectful, so to not appropriate anyone's experience, but also to draw on to something that would like make me alive. So there is some story in there that are borrowed from reality that I then fictionalized. Because when my family came to see the show, some of it my family would have been part of, and they were like, "Is this really how it happened?" And they don't remember, but it still happened. So it does work with that autobiography to fiction. And then I also worked with a playwright here in the UK called Chris Thorpe for like 5 days. So it really helped me open some really crucial moment in the play, in the writing, to kind of push it forward, to kind of interrogate what I'm actually talking about from the storytelling point of view, so it's more like relevant into as a discourse. And I also worked with this really great person who's a celebrant, and she's also a poet, and together, and she was my outside eyes during the process, and together we wrote some text together. So it's a collection, of processes.
And there is one, I think you really like humor, that's really comes out of the piece, and it's very nicely connected, like tragedy and comedy are really connected, or living close to each other in life and also on stage. So, and I think you like this kind of a bit ironic, maybe even kind of dry humor, which I also very much like. So how did you handle the humor in After All? Did it just appear on its own, or there was something you like planned that this situation is kind of funny, or will are the reaction of the public on those parts that you expected they will laugh, or it's like happen and you change it then, and how comes this humor out of you?
Yes, it's, it changes so much according to where I am. It's culturally, it really lands so differently, and I'm so curious about how it lands in your culture. But I have got to say, because I spent my adult life in the UK, I love British humor, and I think people in the UK are so good at self-deprecation, at not taking themselves too seriously, which is very different from French culture, I'm going to say. So when I do the show in French, people are like, is this supposed to be funny? Because you look ridiculous. And I'm like, yes, this is funny. But I enjoy a lot that aspect of British culture. And then also I spend a lot of time in Celtic culture in Scotland.
Okay.
And I also feel that even stronger. And I have built the show on the structure of this Irish funeral, where the first part, you have someone coming, he gives the drinks to everyone, and he cracks a few jokes to kind of help relax a bit the atmosphere. So then the second part, which is the wailing, can be handled, So I've also been interested in that, like how does humor and laughter is literally also a tool, has a place to access something to do with our humanity and our emotions. So I was really hoping this isn't a way to avoid the subject, to distance the audience, but to actually bring them a bit closer.
And did you play it in this region, like more closer to the Central Europe, or it will be the first time?
The first time, and I really look forward to it. I'm so curious. Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious too, because I think people needs to understand English, but we are like announcing like it's in English, so hopefully nobody will be we'll get angry that why you didn't announce that. So so I'm really looking forward to see the reaction of our public. And maybe I can then send you, like, how did you study how the ritual in Slovakia is coming about during the funeral?
That would be so wonderful to know more about that. There's this desk cafe that's, as much as I can, I try to hold them. And when I come to other places like your country, it would be for me more place for me to find out than.
Great. So I think that was a very nice invitation to the show. So I hope people will be curious about maybe some another approach and some another focus of how we can focus on the funeral. And I can just say that those who will listen to this interview before, don't be afraid. It's really about the life, and it's a lot of emotion in it, and I'm really looking forward to have it. So thank you very much for this talk, and see you in Bratislava.
Yes, I really look forward to it. Merci beaucoup.